Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Great English Podcast. I'm Catherine, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Mark. How are you doing today, Mark?
Hey, Catherine. I'm doing great, thanks for asking. I'm really excited about today's episode. We're going to dive into some fun and interesting topics, and I can't wait to get started. How about you? Ready to get into it?
Absolutely. Let's not waste any time then. I was thinking we could kick things off with a simple, but always interesting question. What do you do for a living, Mark? I know our listeners might be curious.
The classic what do you do question. Well, I work as a graphic designer at a creative agency. I get to spend my days coming up with visual concepts, designing cool stuff for clients, and bringing ideas to life. It's a mix of creativity and strategy, which keeps things fresh every day. What about you, Catherine? I know you have an interesting job as well.
Thanks, Mark. I'm a digital marketing consultant, so I help businesses grow their online presence. It's a lot of planning, analyzing data, and coming up with creative campaigns. The digital world is always changing, so there's never a dull moment. How long have you been a graphic designer?
I've been in the field for about 8 years now. It's crazy how time flies. I started out doing freelance gigs right after college, then eventually landed a full-time position. How long have you been in marketing?
It's been about 6 years for me. Like you, I started with small freelance projects and built my way up. It's been a journey of continuous learning, especially with how fast things change in the digital space. What's kept you passionate about your work after all these years?
Good question. I think what keeps me passionate is the variety of projects I get to work on. No 2 days are the same. Plus, I love seeing the final product, whether it's a logo, a website, or a campaign, and knowing that it started as just an idea in someone's head. What about you? How do you stay motivated in your field?
For me, it's about the challenge. Every business has different needs, and I enjoy figuring out the right strategy to help them reach their goals. Plus, when you see your campaigns actually working and helping a business grow, it's super rewarding. Speaking of challenges, what's one of the biggest challenges you've faced in your career?
There have been quite a few, but I'd say one of the toughest was early on when I was trying to establish myself as a freelancer. It's a competitive field, and getting those first few clients took a lot of persistence. There were plenty of times when I felt like giving up, but sticking with it paid off. What about you? Any memorable challenges?
Definitely. I think one of the biggest challenges was balancing creativity with data. Digital marketing is a mix of art and science. You have to come up with creative ideas, but you also need to be data-driven. Sometimes, those two aspects clash, and finding the right balance can be tricky.
That's a great point. Creativity and data can feel like they're at odds sometimes, but when they come together, it's magic. Speaking of creativity, I know you have some pretty cool hobbies outside of work. Care to share with our listeners?
Sure. In my free time, I love painting. It's something I've been doing since I was a kid, and it's still one of my favorite ways to unwind. I also enjoy hiking. There's something peaceful about being out in nature, away from screens and city noise. How about you, Mark? What do you like to do when you're not designing?
I'm really into photography, especially street and landscape photography. There's something special about capturing a moment in time that tells a story. I also enjoy playing the guitar, nothing too serious, just strumming a few tunes when I want to relax. Speaking of hobbies, have you picked up any new ones recently?
Actually, I've been getting into baking lately. It started as a fun way to try out new recipes, and now I'm hooked. There's something so satisfying about creating something from scratch, and of course, the taste tests are a nice bonus. What about you? Any new hobbies or skills you've been exploring?
Funny enough, I've been dabbling in cooking too, but more on the savory side. I've been trying out different cuisines, Italian, Thai, you name it. It's been fun experimenting with flavors and ingredients. Plus, it's always nice to cook a meal that you're proud of.
That's awesome. Cooking can be such a creative outlet. Since we're on the topic, what's your go-to dish when you're cooking at home?
I'd say my go-to is a good old-fashioned pasta dish, carbonara, to be exact. It's simple but delicious, and it never fails to impress. What's your favorite thing to bake?
I have a soft spot for baking cookies, especially chocolate chip. They are quick to make, and they always hit the spot. Plus, who doesn't love the smell of freshly baked cookies?
True. Speaking of favorite things, let's switch gears a bit. I'm curious, what's your favorite type of cuisine when you're dining out?
That's a tough one, but I'd have to say Japanese cuisine. I can never get enough sushi or ramen. How about you?
I'm a sucker for Mexican food. There's just something about tacos, burritos, and all those vibrant flavors that I can't resist. But I'm always open to trying new cuisines, there's so much good food out there.
I totally agree. Now, let's talk a bit about relationships. We've been getting some listener questions about maintaining a good work-life balance and how that plays into relationships. What's your take on that, Mark?
The work-life balance debate. I think it's really important to set boundaries. It's easy to get caught up in work, especially when you're passionate about what you do, but you have to make time for the people and activities that matter outside of work. It's all about prioritizing what's most important to you. What's your strategy for balancing work and your personal life?
I couldn't agree more. For me, it's about setting aside dedicated time for different areas of my life. I have specific, no-work times where I focus on family, friends, or just relaxing. It helps me recharge so that when I do get back to work, I'm more focused and productive. How about in relationships? What do you think makes a relationship thrive?
Communication is hands down. Being open and honest about your thoughts and feelings is key. I think trust, mutual respect, and having shared goals are also really important. What do you think?
Absolutely, trust and communication are at the core. I also think having fun together and being able to laugh, even during tough times, is really important. Relationships thrive when both people feel supported and can grow together.
Well said. Before we wrap up, let's talk a bit about languages since we are, after all, hosting an English podcast. How many languages do you speak, Catherine?
Besides English, I speak a bit of French and Spanish. I'm not fluent, but I can hold a basic conversation. I've always loved learning new languages. It's like unlocking a new world. How about you?
I speak English and a little bit of Italian. My grandparents are from Italy, so I grew up hearing the language. I'm not fluent, but I can manage if I ever travel there. Learning languages is definitely a challenge, but it's so rewarding.
I completely agree. Learning a new language not only helps with communication, but also gives you insight into different cultures. It's a skill that's valuable, no matter where you are.
So true. Before we close out, let's answer one more question from our listeners. They want to know, what's one skill you wish you had more time to develop?
Great question. I'd say I wish I had more time to get better at playing the piano. I've always wanted to learn, but with everything else going on, it's hard to find the time. How about you?
For me, it would be mastering photography. I enjoy it as a hobby, but I'd love to take it to the next level and really hone my skills. It's one of those things I always say I'll get around to, but time slips away.
That's the thing about time, isn't it? There's always something new to learn or improve. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. Thanks to all our listeners for joining us today.
Yes, thanks everyone. We love having these chats, and we hope you enjoyed them as much as we did. If you liked today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. But before we wrap up completely, how about we dive into one last fun topic?
Absolutely. How about we share a few rapid-fire questions to keep it light and fun? I'll ask you some quick questions, and you have to answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Ready?
I'm always up for a challenge. Bring it on.
All right. Here we go. First question, what's your favorite season and why?
Autumn, for sure. I love the cool breeze, cozy sweaters, and the colors of the leaves changing. Plus, it's the perfect weather for outdoor activities without getting too hot or too cold. It's your turn. What's your favorite season?
I'm a spring person. I love seeing everything come back to life after the winter. The flowers bloom, the weather warms up, and it just feels like a fresh start. Okay, next question. What's your go-to comfort food?
That's easy, pizza. You can never go wrong with a hot, cheesy pizza. What's yours?
Mac and cheese, no doubt. There's something so comforting about a bowl of creamy, cheesy goodness. Plus, it's easy to make and always hits the spot. Next question, what's a skill you've always wanted to learn, but haven't had the time to do?
I've always wanted to learn woodworking. There's something really satisfying about building something with your hands from scratch, but I just haven't gotten around to it. What's a skill you'd like to learn?
I'd love to get better at photography. I take decent pictures with my phone, but I'd like to really dive into the technical aspects, like learning about lighting, composition, and editing. Okay, moving on. What's your favorite movie of all time?
That's a tough one. I'd have to go with The Shawshank Redemption. It's such a powerful story about hope, friendship, and resilience. What about you?
I'm a sucker for classic romance, so I'd say Pride and Prejudice. I love the characters, the setting, and the witty dialogue. Next question. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
Italy, hands down. I've always wanted to explore the countryside, visit historical sites, and, of course, enjoy the food. Where would you go?
Japan. I'm fascinated by the blend of tradition and modern culture there. The food, the history, the scenery. I'd love to experience it all. All right, last rapid-fire question. What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
I'd have to say The Office. I've watched it so many times, and it never gets old. How about you?
Mine is Friendly. It's just one of those feel-good shows that I can watch over and over again. And there you have it, some fun facts about us. We hope you enjoyed this rapid-fire round.
That was a blast. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. If you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. We appreciate all your support.
And if you have any topics you'd like us to cover in the future, feel free to reach out. We're always looking for new ideas, and we love hearing from our listeners.
Until next time, take care and keep learning.
Bye for now.